Everybody is seeking cover in the attic. 6-year-old daughter of mine entered my in-laws' house without waiting for me. There were nowhere to be found the in-laws, who were meant to be resting from sickness. I started to sweat in my hands and felt quite awful. "Hi, anyone?" The home was shockingly quiet even when I yelled out. Then my daughter, with an enigmatic talent, went directly to the second floor without second thought. I peeped into the stiflingly hot attic like a sauna. My surprise was discovering my in-laws in a quite other state. An even more startling fact surfaced. I am 34 years old and go by Sasha. 6-year-old first-grade student Maya, my daughter, is quite gifted. "Daddy, check out. Today I'm wearing my new dress to school." She whirled around close to the living room table after getting ready in the morning and adopted a model-like posture. "Oh, sure." On the other hand, my 2-year-older husband Harris merely responded half-heartedly and kept his eyes fixed on his smartphone. "Hey, Daddy, you're quite obnoxious." Hearing my husband's elevated voice, I stopped cooking breakfast and went straight over to them. "Maya, Daddy is working hard right now." "Okay. Please chat to her nicely." Still, he was hooked to his phone and ignored me even when I spoke with him. While his concentration on his profession is commendable, I felt lost about parenting. Among such days, one summer morning Harris abruptly banned our from visiting my in-laws' residence. I used to take our daughter there as their house, where my in-laws live, is only 15 minutes walk from ours in the neighborhood. Maya adored my in-laws, who always treated her gently and respectfully. Should they be unwell, shouldn't we also visit them even more? I voiced my worries, then he sighed. "Maya might get up a cold from them. Most likely, you visited them so frequently that they grew weary and their health deteriorated." As Harris pointed at me with his comments, I was startled and offended. Seeing Maya's face made my in-laws happy always. Still, I decided it. Just follow my choice. "Got it," my husband said decisively. Then he turned back to focus on his smartphone without even once looking at us. Harris left for work. My daughter, looking apprehensive, headed toward the last day of the first term at primary school. Maya came from school with her report card about midday. I complimented her since she had outstanding grades, but she appeared depressed. She said, brushing her bangs, "I'm going to visit Grandpa and Grandma." Maya asked me a lot of questions. Maya really has a magical ability, hence her motion indicates that something major will follow. Maya insisted on using a more difficult mountain trail when we went trekking in spring with my in-laws, for example. We grudgingly turned that way and happened upon a missing hiker. The hiker expressed thanks at spotting us and started crying both relievedly and joyfully. On another visit to my friend's place, Maya yelled that she wanted to visit the rooftop. Following her instincts, we stumbled upon someone attempting suicide and were able to talk them out of it. She was combing her bangs both times. Sure, you are correct. I also worry about Grandma's and Grandpa's health. Let us visit to see them. About it, I felt really strongly negative. On my hands, I could feel sluggish formation of sweat. Harris just banned us from visiting my in-laws' house, but I'm concerned about their health. Above all, Maya's movements pointed at sinister signals that worried me. I quickly made plans to see them with her. We arrived, perspiration from around 15 minutes evident among the loud buzzing of cicadas. When I rang the doorbell, no one answered. Looking at one other, Maya and I agreed to enter using the spare key. Inside the home, it was quite still. Are they out somewhere even though they are sick? Confused, my daughter went upstairs without thinking twice. "Mom, everyone is hiding in the attic." "Huh? Why would they be at such place?" She boldly stepped forward when I couldn't see them in what is typically a storage space. widened my eyes as I peeped into the stiflingly hot attic like a sauna. "Are you okay?" My in-laws were down on the floor, shockingly tied up. I cried out to them, but they answered hardly at all. I untamed them in the interim. I swiftly phoned for an ambulance and waited impatiently for help to arrive. "What's going on?" Fury shot through me at whoever had mistreated my in-laws. I shall never pardon this. Finding the truth and making sure justice was done were my top priorities. That day started me getting ready for retribution. Maya had just begun her summer holiday, so I made plans for her to spend night at my parents' place. Maya was caressing her bangs again when I dropped her off. Open the drawer in Dad's room, then call on the little piece of paper. Okay, let Mom handle everything. Making a call on a little piece of paper confused me somewhat, but I knew it would be a clue of some kind. I gathered data using the enigmatic ability of my daughter. 2 days later, after discovering my in-laws, I walked head down to approach my husband when he got home from work. "I got a call saying your mother-in-law and father had died." "Hey." Harris seemed startled and questioned me several times whether it was true. They were found entangled. Seeing me at a loss for words, my hubby looked at me with awareness right away. "It has to be a burglary. There is no other way to explain tying them that way." "Sure, it must be." He appeared resolved to link it, whatever, to a heist. I squinted and shot Harris a nasty glance. "You suppose so. You did it, therefore, for insurance money and inheritance." Incredible. I could never act in such manner. My spouse clicked his tongue, then pulled out his smartphone and resumed using it. "Hey, you're on your phone even at this time. Do you find something like stock trading particularly worrisome?" Surprised, he looked up from his phone and turned swiftly to meet me. From the shelf, I pulled 2 bits of paper and set them on the living room table. "You haven't put down your phone because you're trying to recover from investment losses by trading more stocks, right?" said. "How would you?" The papers I showed were a printout of an email alert displaying computer-generated stock loss of $80,000. My daughter had advised me to open the other page and ew for a debt of $80,000 discovered in the drawer at her study. Unknown to me, Harris had begun making investments and accrued large debt. Turning pale upon viewing the proof, he confronted me angrily. "Is it a wife's job to sort through other people's things?" "Huh. Well, if you're going to say that, is it a husband's job to go fishing around for other women and cheat?" Actually, as I perused his computer data, I discovered proof of Harris's adultery. Emails, pictures, schedules with his lover, and more. I thought I would fall apart when I discovered the proof. A business card from the woman he was seeing lay in the rear of the drawer. It came from a shadowy area. The business card was the tiny piece of paper Maya mentioned. I looked at my husband, then grabbed the stack of printed emails and pictures and pushed them in his direction. "You have a mistress and great debt. Did you not intend to start over with the inheritance and insurance money?" To my astonishment, though, Harris started laughing. "Wow, in such a little period you unearthed all this. Rather amazing for someone with too much free time. Were you likewise chasing the money of my parents?" He seemed to misinterpret, hunting for inheritance-related records while I was glad about the death of my in-laws. Sitting firmly on the sofa, he crossed his legs and grinned. "Well, you know, a young, gorgeous woman 20 years old became fixated on me. An elderly hack with a child makes me bored." He looked obscenely at her and began to chat casually. Even puffing his nostrils, he seemed so happy that I felt completely disgusting. I can wipe it away with the inheritance. I failed in investments. It was a fresh start, a fantastic lesson for me. Though he could not even pay his own losses, he was assured and displayed no indication of regret or introspection. Not at all that is appropriate. I yelled fiercely. Harris, though, just wore a proud, arrogant smile. There's no evidence I treated my parents well. It makes sense that the inheritance finds me. Is that incorrect in some way? Starting to get cocky and lighthearted, my hubby began laughing. It's all absolutely incorrect. The house reverberated a booming voice. Shock drove Harris to turn around, and my father-in-law stood there. Dead. Harris shrilled and fretted when he saw his parents, who he assumed to be dead. I found your parents and saved them the day after you left their attic. Your father has been listening to everything from the living room. Harris went white knowing his parents were still alive. Having his parents as indisputable witnesses, he was powerless to avoid the results of his deeds. Medical treatment saved them once they were transferred by ambulance to the hospital. Then my in-laws delivered the reality. The evening before I discovered them, my husband paid a visit to his parents' house and individually called each of them to the attic stating he needed to talk to them. He first tied up his mother and covered her when she was by herself. Then he left his father on the floor when he got home and followed the same treatment. Harris seems to have meant to finish them with a knife or another tool, but he answered a call urgently at that point. Grumbling, he said, "It's summer anyway. They'll probably just die from heat stroke." Then he headed to work securely gagging them to keep them from calling for aid. My in-laws told me this tearfully. Clearly, they might not have lived if they had been discovered only a few hours later. I truly wanted to get your actual sentiments straight before approaching the cops. I never would have expected you to be such a filthy coward. Exactly. When I found them, you had no idea how much they were suffering. Harris began to shake as his father, and I both blamed him. While we were imprisoned, he must have been terrified of running across cops. Your mother appeared dead, but I was unable to move. I felt so useless, and yet you were too busy cheating. Under his father's screaming, which was so loud it felt as though an earthquake may be occurring, my husband curled up. But I will never again encounter such a beautiful woman. Just wanted to see her one more before being discovered. Harris began to cry at this time, still mullering over his affair partner. Right, too soon to feel this depressed. Why not you give her a call? My spouse took up his phone as if it were his last hope when I proposed this. But when he attempted phoning his affair partner, he got the reply, "The number you have dialed is no more in service." Her number clearly had been turned off. Harris persisted and phoned the shop, but the manager informed him she had left and quickly hung up on him. Clearly not knowing what had transpired, my husband stared blankly. Actually, yesterday I went to see the woman to face her about the affair. She became enraged learning you were married. Harris widened his eyes and stopped in disbelief when I went into great length on how his affair partner had cursed him as a nasty bastard. She replied she had no need for a broke man when I told her he also had bills and promptly called it off. Looking at my husband with contempt, tears welled up in his eyes and his lips trembled. As it happens, his affair partner thought he was single. Harris had also behaved as a rich investor, hence she had great expectations of him. She lost all interest in him when she saw it was all falsehoods. You fool, you were all thrilled just because a girl treated you kindly in the shop. A young woman was wanting your money, not loving you. My spouse passed out and started crying. But we were really in love. Surely this makes me the victim. I felt misled. I looked at my stepfather, and we both sighed deeply. What are you referencing? Your parents suffered damages of $10,000. Maya's child support comes at $85,000, and debt totals additional $80,000. That sums to $175,000 overall. Pay now? Surely not. Already, my investment-related debt is causing great trouble. Impossible. You carried those debts personally. You cannot simply ignore the fact that we almost perished. My father-in-law roared as though it were heard across the neighborhood. Once more, I shot him a sharp gaze. Police sirens arriving could be heard far away. My mother-in-law had apparently brought them back with her after visiting to inform the police of the matter. "Ha, you truly phoned the cops. Sasha, kindly assist me here." Harris begged with me, shaking and crying. "There is evidence that you sought to kill your parents. Now, your debt and affair are under public view. You would be naturally blamed for all this. Is there something wrong with that?" I emulated the earlier tone of my husband. We kept him under control until the cops showed up along with my father-in-law. Harris cried with a runny nose and showed little opposition as the police who had arrived hauled him away. My in-laws apologized to me. "I'm sorry for raising such a stupid son." I shook my head, though in answer, "You two have always been friendly to Maya and me. You have not broken any rules." He was the one who veered off the straight road. We moved closer together to see the police car leave. My spouse later went on trial for detaining and disciplizing his parents. Naturally, this incident came to light in his job, leading to his termination. His attorney said he probably will spend several years behind prison. Maya's in-laws handled her child support, but they severed all relations to Harris. When he finally gets released several years later, he will most certainly find himself alone, caught in a debt spiral. Conversely, my kid and I are doing great. Maya still moves her bangs to alert me to oncoming danger. Saying Maya is like a guardian, my in-laws and my own parents treasure her. I am resolved to keep defending my daughter, who has valiantly